been nicer. She could have approached it
You
nicer.
asked the question, can I pet the dog? And she said no.
She should have said that they were in training.
You can walk away now.
I don't know you anything.
Bye.
I didn't ask you.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to
And
me.
I'm taking a picture and calling the cops.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm gonna tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Starting us off at number 10, service dog Karen. Now, as you guys know, I love dogs. That being said, when you see a working dog, whether it be a service dog or a dog at the airport sniffing for something sus, you just don't go near it. At the end of the day, they aren't pets, they're literally working. Whether it be to help guide someone with impaired vision, soothe someone with anxiety, or even trying to track something down, you treating them like a pet just ain't it. But for some reason, this mother had an incredibly hard time understanding that, and after asking if her 2-year-old could pet the service dog in training, well, she apparently didn't like what she heard. For those of you who didn't catch on, she was told no. Megan, the service dog's owner, then started to film this mother, who told Megan, I quote, "Firstly, you should have a sign saying not to touch the dog, and secondly, she should not have said no. She could have said, sorry, the dog's in training. That would have been nicer." Megan then points to the vest the dog is wearing, which says precisely that, to which the woman claims she was being filmed without consent and that she needed to call her lawyer. Now, I will say this woman claims she had an issue with the fact that the group of women walking with the dog allegedly told her to F off after she asked if her child could pet the dog, and if that's the case, then I feel Karen wasn't out of line, asking them to be more respectful. Still, it seems when Karens are exposed, they tend to backtrack, so I'm not sure whose side I'd be on, but given the video clip that I saw, this Karen seems to be a little bit in the wrong.
The next Karen we got is IQ Karen, and that'll make a little more sense later. And she was featured in a video called Stuff COVIDiots Say Part 2. Brian Tao goes to an anti-mask rally that was held in Toronto to have what he thought was going to be a friendly debate about the topic. That turned bad real fast. The main reason because he encountered a Karen named Kelly Ann Wolf, and one of the first things she said to him was that people who were wearing masks and agreeing to this civil obedience are, quote, the people that walked into the gas tanks. And of course, after completely insane comment like that, the person filming the video pressed her to explain herself further, and asking what she does for a living, with her responding to the question of what her name was, saying, quote, I'm all over the place. I'm a musician and a very popular one. Then after getting into an argument about the size of molecules while trying to defend the fact that masks stop you from breathing, she lists her qualifications, saying, by the way, I've got 13 degrees in psychology, I'm a member of Mensa, and have a master's in political science. Then she says to someone else that her IQ is 195, which, okay, isn't like impossible per se, but very unlikely by the way she was schooled by this man. Then the interaction ends with another guy on a bike allegedly hitting her, then her screaming for the cops while he rides away. Just a great video.
On to number 8, Starbucks Karen. You may or may not be familiar with this one, as it's one of the more recent Karen outbursts on our list. Pretty standard in California, you need to wear a mask inside stores simply because they're trying to stop the spread of the pandemic. But Starbucks Karen, also referred to as California Karen, had a huge issue with this, so obviously she walked into a Starbucks without a mask. When the barista, Lennon, informed her she needed a mask or she wouldn't be served, to no surprise, Karen here went ballistic. Real name Amber Lynn Gillis, she took to Facebook in a now deleted post, sharing a photo of Lennon with the caption, I quote, meet Lennon from Starbucks who refused to serve me because I'm not wearing a mask. Next time I will wait for the cops and bring a medical exemption. Obviously after getting the backlash she wasn't expecting to receive and going viral, she would explain that she has a medical condition. I quote, I get shortness of breath, dizziness, and it messes with the heartbeat. And I do have asthma as well, and I do get mask acne. So there's several things going on, and not only that, but it doesn't even work. And to add insult to injury, someone started a GoFundMe for Lennon, which raised over $100,000 just in tip money for standing up to Karen. Now she's trying to sue him for half that money. I mean, makes sense if you ask me.
Now at number 7, another no mask Karen. Although they could all be called that, in this video that went viral on Reddit's public freakout subreddit, you can see a Karen completely losing it when the employee tells her that she can't come into the store without a mask. It starts with an employee trying to hand her a mask, then she doesn't take it and tells her that she can't wear a mask because of a health condition. Then the manager of the store had to get involved, and the Karen keeps telling her of her health condition and saying that she can't deny service because of not wearing the mask. Then the manager points out that she definitely can deny service if she's risking the health of her own employees. Then she tries to pull the classic excuse of, if everyone else is wearing a mask and I don't get near them, you know, it shouldn't be a problem. Then when the manager says that's not gonna happen and she needs to leave or wear a mask, she ends up angrily leaving while calling them sheep and even saying that the virus isn't real. And then for some reason she thought it was a good idea to upload that to the internet. Like, these people think they're doing something, like they look like heroes here. It's wild.
At number 6, Pepper Spray Karen. Also being referred to as California Karen, this woman for some reason felt threatened and decided to pepper spray a couple at a dog park. Now you're likely wondering, why would she possibly feel threatened? Well, it's because the couple, who weren't anywhere near her in the first place, decided not to wear masks while eating their lunch. Of course, this Karen claimed self-defense and cited the fact that you're not allowed to eat lunch on the picnic benches as enough reason to pepper spray them. The two victims are Ash O'Brien and her husband Jarrett Kelly, who were at a park with their 3-month-old pup. As per O'Brien, I quote, "She automatically started saying stuff about us not wearing a mask when we were social distancing. There was no one near us." She went on to say, I quote, "If we knew there was a no food policy, we wouldn't have brought it into the park," and explained after the woman left, she just came up without saying anything and just stuck the mace can right in front of my face. My husband, being a good guy, walked in front of her and was like, "Hey, calm down, please don't do this." And then she grabbed him and started macing him. She used the entire can on him. We drove to the hospital, he got treated and everything. The incident was caught on tape and it is being investigated as the pair are looking to press charges for assault.
Halfway through number 5, Tesla Karen. This might be the most ridiculous one, honestly, and it's another one coming out of Toronto where Karen got pissed because she was asked to move her Hyundai out of a very clearly marked Tesla spot that was marked with signs and had a charger at the end of it. This is another one coming out of the public freakout subreddit, and basically it starts with her in front of the car and employees telling her that she has to move it. Then when she notices a person is recording this, she goes off on them and starts talking trash about millennials and how we love to put ourselves online. Then when her comments are getting really out of hand, the employees keep telling her to leave and she starts coming up with all the excuses as to why she can't leave, including the fact that she might have COVID and that she's waiting for someone at an appointment. Then when the security guard tells her that there is a clearly marked sign saying not to park there, she tells them she can't see. Like, that's a real excuse that she said? And like, what the hell, sis? You're supposed to be driving away or to the place. Like, how can you not see? And I think this woman is the quintessential Karen because the whole thing was entirely her fault, but she still managed to be entitled. Like, it's craziness.
Now at number 4, driving Karen. So the story here is that Carlos Dillard, an actor, author, and comedian, decided to follow a woman to her home after she allegedly followed him for a period of time in her car. The video starts by showing this woman covering her license plate and car, screaming and claiming she is scared of being posted online and being a Karen. As per Dillard, the woman cut him off while driving, flipped him off and yelled at him, and then Dillard got ahead of her. She followed him for 3 right turns, seemingly driving in a circle, likely following him. Dillard got out of his car to ask why she was following him. She drove off while yelling at him. I quote him saying she was angry, upset, screaming racial slurs, obscenities. At this point he started filming the interaction, but she took off, so he just went in the general direction that she went in and he ended up behind her once again, eventually following her to her house. At this point, the video of the woman yelling like someone is attacking her while claiming "I have a black husband" is where we get to see things play out from. The video received just under 9 million views in 24 hours, and Dillard saw it as an opportunity to cash in, so he made some merch that read "I have a black husband." Talk about entrepreneurship.
And at number 3, we got Panera Karen, and we got yet another case of a Karen refusing to wear a mask. This incident took place at a Panera Bread in California where she got in arguments with the staff and other customers for refusing to wear a mask. The video starts with an employee confirming the fact that she won't be getting served because she won't wear a mask. Then other customers start telling her to get out, calling her selfish, among a lot of other names. Then she shook me to my core when she blew air at the other customers that were yelling at her. Like, the audacity. And when I tell you, at that moment is when I would have just popped off at this woman. But anyways, then as she starts to finally leave, she gives another reason as to why she isn't wearing a mask, saying, quote, "You fart out of your and you can smell it out of your pants. You think that mask is gonna protect you?" And when I tell you, I lost it at that comment. And when you're comparing wearing a mask to smelling a fart is when you know you're just dealing with, a scholar.
At number 2, Central Park Karen. The one that started it all, this woman apparently felt threatened by a black man birdwatching in Central Park after he reminded her all dogs need to be on leashes. In the video filmed by Christian Cooper, you can see the woman named Amy Cooper telling him, "I'm gonna tell him there's an African American man threatening my life." To clarify, there is no relation between the two. Amy could be seen choking her dog, and it all seemed to start when Christian started filming her. She asked him to stop, and as she approaches, Christian politely asks Amy not to come closer, which she still does. She then backs away after threatening to call the cops, which he encourages, and she goes from 0 to 100 real quick, not only making her dog visibly uncomfortable to the point that it is jumping around trying to break free from the stranglehold she has on it, but also screaming as if she's being attacked. After asking for the police to arrive, the video ends with Christian thanking Amy for putting the dog on the leash. The video would go viral and Amy would end up losing her job, her dog for a short period of time, and receiving numerous death threats. Now, I don't think the death threats are appropriate, but I'd say she deserved to lose her job and be outed as a racist for sure. Even if it was like unintentional, it's still just... No, yeah, she deserved it all.
Now at number 1, Permit Karen. This is another wild one. Basically, this woman was working from home and she heard a little girl outside selling water bottles. But when she thought the girl was being too loud, she decided to ask her if she had a permit to sell. When she obviously didn't because she's an 8-year-old girl, this Karen decided to call the cops on her for not having a permit. Then the mother decided to call out this Karen, saying she'd never asked the girl to be quiet, and the first interaction they had was when she asked the girl for the permit. Then the mother continued that the girl wasn't even being loud and this Karen was just a bully. And the saddest part is that the girl was only selling water bottles because she wanted to save up money to go to Disneyland. And that's honestly so messed up, trying to intimidate a literal child by calling the cops. Like, these people. Starting off at number 10, we have Coffee Karen. This first one might honestly be the most violent that I've ever seen. Basically, it starts when two guys were sitting outside a Manhattan Beach coffee shop about to eat. Then Karen and Ken come up to them and start going off on them for not wearing masks, even though they are outside and not really close to anyone. The groups went back and forth for a bit and it all seemed like pretty cordial conversation until the Karen decides to throw her hot coffee on one of the guys. And after this, he ends up pouncing on the Ken, and the pair end up fighting with this guy until it's broken up and the Ken has a very bloody nose. Then the situation gets even worse when the Ken decides to call the cops and tell them that he's just been a but obviously fails to mention how he started this whole thing by firstly coming up to them at all, then secondly throwing the coffee completely unnecessarily. And then the video ends with the cops showing up. And obviously these guys were in the wrong for not wearing masks, if that is the law where they were, but throwing coffee on someone is not only a but will also get your boyfriend punched in the face. And at number 9, Fat Shaming Karen. And we don't only have anti-maskers in this one, we're diversifying with our Karens here. And this one is a Karen fat shaming an Instagram model. Influencer Karina Irby is the designer of Moana Bikini and has more than 1.1 million followers on Instagram. And she has many skin conditions such as eczema. But over the weekend she shared a message from a Karen who claimed her weight may be the reason for her skin problems. It looks to be a DM where the Karen claims that she quote used to follow her but hadn't for a while and had just had a look back at her profile, then dropping the bomb by saying quote, I'm not trying to be rude but I feel like all your skin issues etc may have started when you started putting on weight. Then adding maybe try and lose some weight and see if it lessens a little bit for you. Can only try, hun. And this is so crazy because she's literally not overweight like whatsoever. Like I have no idea what weight this Karen thinks she needs to lose, like I don't literally see anything. But Karina decided to clap back, replying quote, FYI Karen, I was born with these skin conditions. It's people like you that make people like us feel like they have to feel ashamed, embarrassed, and cover ourselves up. And I am so happy we're also telling Karens off online now. And at number 8, Gas Station Karen. This one is actually kind of a case of a Karen getting what was coming to her. So this one started out in a gas station with some people already in the gas station. Then Karen walks in when she needs help with a pump. Then when the Karen wants to cut in line in front of the people that were already standing there, the Karen was heard saying quote, go back to her own country, before telling the clerk behind the counter not to serve this other person. Then after a lot of back and forth and screaming, it builds up to a face-to-face altercation, where it's hard to tell kind of exactly what's happened, but it seems like the woman lightly shoved the Karen because she was getting too close to her face. Then the Karen pushed her back much harder, with the other woman then going all in and slapping her in the face. Then it all ends with the Karen leaving, while the cameraman tells her why it was her fault that all went down. And although I definitely don't think the women should have ever put hands on each other, it's a reminder that you never know what people are gonna do if you start an altercation with someone. And at number 7, Trader Joe's Karen. This one went down at a Trader Joe's when a Karen entered the store and started shopping without a mask on, even though it was their policy. The clip is really short so you can't really tell the entire situation, but eyewitnesses filled in some of the holes. But in the video you can see the Karen screaming at a bunch of the employees, and then when she's not getting her way, she decides to throw her basket to the ground and storm out, while calling everyone Democratic pigs. Then she tries to give her side of the story, saying quote, that man harassed me for not wearing a mask. I have a breathing problem. My doctor wouldn't let me wear a mask. So anyone harassing me to wear a mask, you guys are violating federal law. Get that on camera. Then when this picked up a lot of media coverage, she told ABC7 that the reason she got so hostile is because the man that first encountered her was swearing unnecessarily at her and she felt harassed and in danger. And even though I can see where she's coming from, like this guy didn't need to get so vile so quickly, she was still in the wrong for not wearing a mask and for screaming in the store and like throwing her basket and all that other stuff. And at number 6, Papers Karen. This This next one was when a Karen stopped someone from doing their job. A California Karen blocked a landscaper from working because she refused to move out of the way until he showed documentation that proved that he was in the US legally. And sadly, the landscaper told TMZ that it was not the first time she had harassed him before, also telling him to go back to his own country. In the video you can see that he was mowing the lawn in Palm Springs, and the woman walks around him, stopping him from going anywhere, and she just keeps asking him for his papers before the video ends up cutting out. And even though she was being recorded, it didn't stop her from being completely out of line. Up at number 5, measuring tape Karen. This one isn't freaking out because of her lax nature about the virus, but instead because of how seriously she is taking it. In the short video, all you can see is this Karen with her measuring tape out, screaming at the top of her lungs that she's protecting her family. Well, it looks like her husband is trying to pull her away. According to the other woman that was filming, they were at the beach when the Karen wanted their group to move further away from hers. Then she identified herself as a nurse and took out the measuring tape to probably show what 6 feet looked like, and I'm sure that the Karen felt that they weren't social distancing. But since she was pretty close to them while screaming at them, I'm really not sure how much she could actually be caring about social distancing. Kinda hypocritical. Then up at number 4, dentist Karen. This Karen was caught up at the dentist when she refused to wear a mask. It's hard to know what happened before this, but you can hear her speaking with a secretary, I assume, who tells her that she won't be able to get her teeth cleaned unless she wears a mask. The Karen seems to be very shook by this information and tries to justify the fact that she doesn't want to wear a mask by saying, quote, "You're gonna work on my teeth, not my nose." Then when they are still firm on the policy, she asks if she can just hold her hand over her face, but that's obviously rejected too. Then when the office says that they also need to take her temperature for her to come in, she loses it, claiming that it's illegal for them to take her temperature because they're not doctors. And just an FYI, that is not a thing and makes no sense. Everyone is checking temperatures these days. Then she keeps going that she's gonna sue them for harassing her, and that she actually spoke with her lawyer before she went in to make sure of that. And side note, if that's true, this woman's seriously losing it. Like, consulting your lawyer before you leave your house because you know you're gonna get yourself into a problem, like, just wear a mask, come on. Then in at number 3, insurance Karen. Yet another case of a Karen doing something wrong and then trying to call the cops to save herself, but it failing miserably. This one starts off with the man filming the fact that his mirror has been scraped by the Karen, and her refusing to give over her ID and insurance until she calls the cops, with him hinting that it's because of the color of his skin and she feels threatened. Instagram account Karen's Gone Wild is who posted the video, with her responding to that, quote, "I do want to give you the insurance, I just gotta call 911 first." But then her telling the cops that she's afraid of him. Then at the end of the video, after making this whole problem, she admits she didn't even have the insurance in the first place. Then up at number 2, SoCal Karen. This next one is incredibly vile and just shows how insanely entitled some people can be. This one went down in California, where a young woman was working out on a set of stairs in an open park. Then the Karen walks down the stairs right where she is when she literally could have went down any other set of stairs, and kinda hits her as she's leaving. Then the woman low-key calls her out by saying, you know, Jesus, or something like that you'd kinda do. And this is when the woman goes off. She then gets all up in her face and tells her that she better watch it or she's gonna, quote, get her ass kicked by her family? She then continued to spout off other profanities until it got racial, telling her to go back to whatever country she came from. Then she ends it all off by calling her out for wearing black clothes when it's hot and sunny out. Like, these Karens really do have the nerve, it's so wild. Calling her out because she's wearing black clothing, like, I can't. And then lastly we have Costco Karen, who is definitely the most mature on this list. You'll see what I mean in a minute, trust me. When the video starts, it looks like the Karen has asked to speak to the manager, classic. Then the manager asks why she's not wearing the mask, hinting to if she has some sort of medical condition. Then the woman says she doesn't have a condition, but she still doesn't need to wear the mask because she's a United States citizen. Okay. But then the employee calls her out saying that they can make any rules that they want, and then points out that the Karen could literally just wear the mask that she has dangling from her ear instead of causing a problem for no reason. And what's crazier is that Costco security is pretty strict, so she probably used that mask to get into the store, then took it off just to be problematic. Then when the employee stands firm on the fact that she won't be helping her without a mask on, Karen takes it even further and sits down on the floor of Costco. And I guess the employee has dealt with other Karens in her day because she hardly reacted at all and just asked her to move aside so people could still leave the store. And we sadly didn't get to see how this one ended, but I just assumed security kicked her out after her sitting on the floor for way longer than was needed.
That's a, excuse me?
Excuse me, I'm coming through. Recently, a maskless Karen was caught on camera following another customer through a grocery store and coughing at them repeatedly. You know, during one of the most deadly pandemics in the last 100 years. It didn't take long before her face hit the local news, and as of today, it's being reported that she was fired from her job for this freakout. So as I mentioned earlier, a Karen has been identified as Janine Hoskovic from Scottsdale, Arizona. She was captured on camera following another customer throughout a supermarket as she coughed on them and claimed that she did not need to wear a mask because she wasn't sick. Well, then what was with all the coughing? Oh well, she said that her exaggerated coughing was due to her allergies, and clearly no one was buying that. The video so far has garnered the attention of the media and received over 4 million views on Twitter alone. The incident took place at a Super Saver in Lincoln, Nebraska, and in the video you can see her just dramatically coughing as she smirks and says, "Excuse me, I'm coming through," in the direction of the customer that's recording her. When the victim's daughter confronts her off camera for coughing into the open, this super spreader Karen throws her hands up and repeatedly talks down to the woman and her child, saying, "You guys are so cute." And for that level of condescension, she is quickly branded as a Karen by the woman filming. When asked by others why she doesn't have a mask on, Janine tells them, "I don't need to have one on. I'm not sick and neither are you." Now this woman filming tries to be rational, but clearly reason and logic have no place in this Karen's mind. When she points out that even if neither of them were sick, it does not give her the right to openly cough on strangers, Janine begins to just cough more dramatically as she laughs and claims further that it's her allergies that are just acting up. Janine then says, "2 years ago, before anyone started talking about COVID, you were okay with that though, going out not knowing you were sick." However, the story changes as soon as a store employee approaches her and tries to figure out what's going on here. The maskless woman then suggests that maybe she has a medical condition that is stopping her from wearing the mask, which just directly contradicts her earlier claims that she isn't sick at all. I was being polite too there as well. She doesn't even fully get out the word condition. She sort of just stumbles with the question and says, "You don't know anything about my health. Maybe I have a medical." Just full stop on the word medical.
You don't know anything about my health. Maybe I have a medical.
Okay.
She also calls them sheep, which really just tells me more about what type of content she's consuming every night to just be getting these talking points. That is 100% a Fox News mom. Unfortunately for Janine, 2 online activists quickly identified her, and from there they found her LinkedIn page that then had her listed as an employee for the German software company called SAP. Her former employer issued a statement on Twitter regarding the incident and said, "The health and safety of our employees and the communities in which we live and work are of utmost concern to us. We are taking the matter of an SAP employee incident very seriously and investigating the situation." Then shortly after that they tweeted out, "We have reviewed the incident and can confirm that the individual in question no longer works for SAP." But we would love to hear your thoughts on all of this though. Do you think Janine deserved to be fired for this, or was the company under too much pressure from social media to not do something about it?
Your job. No, you don't work for it. I pay to be here. I pay to have food.
A video is now going viral showing a California Karen getting physical with employees of a restaurant because they were not wearing masks, even though it is not currently mandated. I'm Mackenzie and let's get into the details. The video of the Karen screaming at employees and getting in physical fights is almost 7 minutes long, and the woman appears intoxicated because she is slurring her words and stumbling around. The restaurant is called the Market Boiler Restaurant in Huntington Beach, California, and this took place on Monday the 13th. We're not sure what led up to the screaming match, but when the video starts, the Karen is speaking with the manager of the restaurant, and you can hear her screaming, quote, "You don't know what it's like to be discriminated against." Then screaming it's because the manager is a white woman. Then the Karen keeps yelling and lunging towards the manager. That's when some other employees try to step in between them to protect the manager. Then the conversation changes and the Karen screams at the manager for not wearing a mask while talking to her, even though the Karen herself was not wearing a mask. Neither was pretty much anyone else in the restaurant. This is because California currently does not have a mask mandate. The Karen also demanded to see the manager's vaccination card, and when people brought up that the Karen was not masked, she responded, quote, "I'm vaccinated, bitch." Can't say that with a straight face. At one point, the Karen even took some cleaner that was sitting in the waiting area and sprayed it on the manager, telling the manager after that, quote, "You don't effing deserve your effing job." The Karen then asked the unmasked worker if she's been vaccinated, shouting at her that she has a quote mandate and responsibility to have your effing mask on. The Karen keeps screaming at just the manager, even though almost nobody else has a mask on, so clearly she is some sort of vendetta against just the manager. The Karen even hit the manager and other customers and employees who tried to step in multiple times. Finally, the Karen decided to leave and the other patrons cheered. Many of the comments on the video were laughing about how crazy the Karen was and joking that she had one too many coronas. Other commenters revealed that they have not gone out to eat since the pandemic started because they are nervous of encountering unstable people like this. And others said this might just be the beginning, with more vaccine mandates on the horizon in many places in the world. People might start getting into more fights surrounding the topic of vaccines, most likely employees and patrons. Here in Toronto, our vaccine mandate is starting on the 22nd for large gatherings and restaurants, and I know it's already in effect in many places in the world.